So for doing the keyword research, that means trying to find out which are the most appropriate keyword or keywords that you need to use in the online content, so that you are reflected on the top few results of the search engine results page. The qualities that the digital marketer is looking for in the keyword includes search volume, which is a metric that lets you evaluate how popular a specific query is and how much potential traffic you can direct to your site with a high position. So in the case of search volume of a keyword, it helps you understand how many number of times that keyword is feeded into the search engine box, which leads to searching for the different web pages online wherein this keyword will be found. So volume isn't the only thing that determines how hard it will be to actually rank your web page. To help you understand that, you will need to look into the keywords level of competition. The second one is competitiveness of a keyword. That means how many number of companies they are using that keyword, or how many number of online users they feed that keyword into the search engine box. The more sought after a keyword is, the more likely there will be tons of websites and marketing agencies vying for the top spot. So there are two metrics with the help of which the competitiveness of the keyword can be measured. First one is keyword difficulty, and the second one is competitive density. The keyword difficulty is in terms of this metrics, it helps you how competitive it is to rank organically. Do you remember, students, what is the meaning of organic search? We discussed yesterday. कोई बता पाएगा?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, tell me.
Ma'am, free search. Free
Yes,
search.
yes, free search. So the basic idea of without making payment, you are reflected on the top two results of the search engine results page. The basic idea behind it is the more number of times your web page is visited by the online user, the greater there are chances that uh, that particular web page gets reflected whenever it is searched. I mean, the keywords which are included that web page, they are searched on the Google search or Yahoo search or whatever search engine is being used by online users. So keyword difficulty is the metrics that tells you how competitive it is to rank organically at the top of the search results page. This is based on how strong and reputable the websites are that are already on the first page. So when the search engine results page reflects the different searches, right? So it may be first search. So there may be a number of searches, your first, second. Right. So it may be first search result, second search result, third search result, fourth and fifth. So you as a digital marketer of a specific company, you need to understand which are the companies which are occupying these positions, right? This is always your ad that we discussed yesterday. So that is what is given over here. With the help of this keyword difficulty, this metrics, you are able to understand how strong and reputable websites are that are being reflected in these search engine places or positions. To outrank what is already there, you need to provide something which is more informative or which gives a more appropriate type of information to the online users. So accordingly, the difficulty of the keyword will be reflected. Then comes your competitive density. Density, as the name suggests, how many number of competitors are available. So this metric tells you how competitive it is to rank an advertisement at the top of the results page. So this was organic searches. And since it is advertisement, this will cater to paid searches. This is based on how expensive the bids are. That is why, since it's paid search, so bids are made for your, as I told you yesterday, they are made for the keywords, right? For buying the or purchasing the keywords. There are a number of keywords which are not available free of cost, because the more the keywords are used by the competitors, the price of getting that keyword so that you can use it on your web content, it increases. So that is why the competitive density can be measured on the basis of how expensive the bids are for purchasing the keywords and how strong the current advertisers are. Who are the current advertisers who are there, who are in this page, right? Google or any other search engine results page. The keyword difficulty helps you manage your SEO campaign, and competitive density, this helps you in prioritizing your advertising campaign. So two different things. That's what we discussed over here: organic searches and paid searches, which relates to your advertising campaign. SEO campaign, they are a combination of organic as well as paid searches. The price of the keyword. Speaking about advertising, every keyword has a price, which is your CPC.
Ma'am?
Yes, cost per click.
Ma'am, keyword difficult is written. What is written over there? I can't see.
Previous slide.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, tell me. You're asking for keyword difficulty.
Keyword difficulty.
Yeah, difficulty. That means this is a metric. Metric means it is the method of measuring how difficult it is to procure or to get that keyword. Now, that can be judged or it can be measured by way of how difficult, I mean, how popular that keyword is with the other competitors who are available online. So if they may be using that keyword, it becomes difficult for you to get hold of that keyword to include it in your search, I mean, to include it in your content. So that is why this metric, this is the name of the metric, keyword difficulty. This is the name of the second metric, which is competitive density. Using both these metrics, you as a digital marketer are able to measure the competitiveness of the keyword. Because unless and until you analyze the competitiveness of the keyword, you'll be able to undecide. You will not be able to decide whether you should go in for organic searches or you should go in for paid searches. Because for organic searches, you need not spend any amount of money, right? So keyword difficulty is how easy or difficult it is to get that keyword. Right? So that is why it's given over here. This metric tells you how competitive it is to rank organically at the top of the results page. So ranking organically means you are just getting hold of some keywords, including it in your content, and then you are trying to adapt certain digital marketing activities. For example, you are trying to promote that content on your social media platform to drive the traffic on those web pages where that specific content related to your brand is available. The more the number of online traffic gets diverted to your web page, they hit the web page, automatically, I mean, it becomes that your web page is being visited very often. So that results in your website or web URL being reflected at the results page, search engine results page, which is the top 5 searches. So to achieve that, you need to understand whatever keyword that you are using, whether those keywords will make your organic searches difficult or easier, right? So that is why it is based on strong and reputable websites that are already available. So you need to understand, you know what that keyword will be, just type in that keyword as a digital marketer on the Google search engine and find out who are the nearest competitors who are already occupying the top 5 positions of the search engine results page, right? Once you know who are they, then you can go through their content, which contains those specific keywords which you are planning to integrate as a part of your online content. Now, what you have to offer to the online users as a part of the content is something which is better content in terms of, not only in terms of information that you're providing, but also in terms of the quality of information, so that more and more online users get diverted to your brand specific page. Now, is it clear, Ankita?
Yes, ma'am.
So we'll move ahead. The price of the keyword. Speaking of advertising, every keyword has a price, which is cost per click. We discussed a little bit about it in our previous sessions. Cost per click, that tells you how much it costs an advertiser every time a searcher clicks on the ad after searching the keyword. If you remember, I have already explained this to you. Suppose I am searching for the word sports shoes, right? So I get, as a part of my search engine results page, I look for the top 5 results. First one may be your Nike ad, right? That means the link will be of Nike sports shoes, which will be a paid type of your search. That is why it is coming under this category of ad, and that is how it appears on your Google search engine results page. Students, मैं जैसे ही पढ़ाती हूँ, प्लीज आप लॉग इन करके वो देखो सर्च इंजन में किस तरह का, इस तरह के रिजल्ट्स पेज आ रहे हैं कि नहीं आ रहे हैं. You will see this ad type of a symbol over there on the first search engine result, right? Now what happens is, since I had searched for sports shoes, what I do is, Nike is a very well-known brand. So what I do is I click on this link, right? The moment I click on the link, now what will this Nike brand have to do? They will have to pay who is the advertiser over here? The Google search engine. Yes, Google search engine is the advertiser. Sorry, Nike is the advertiser, but who is advertised? Who is giving the space? The Google search engine. So Nike will have to pay Google. There will be some price which is pre-decided at a specific rate, maybe ₹1,000 per click, right? So that can be the price, supposition type of a price, right? It can be anything. So that will be paid. So that is cost per click, right? And that is what is written over here. It tells you how much it costs an advertiser every time a searcher clicks on the ad after searching the keyword. Evaluating the CPCs of your target keywords is necessary for managing your advertising budget and estimating the cost of campaign. Both of them lead to the expenses that has to be made in terms of advertising, right? So there are certain expenses which have to be incurred more specifically online. advertising. So that is why the price of the keyword also needs to be analyzed before choosing that particular or selecting that particular keyword. The word count of the keyword, that means whether the keyword includes only a single word or it's a combination of word. You can see the example which is written on your screen. Word count refers to the number of words in the phrase. For example, loans has a word count of 1, while what plants grow in the desert has a word count of 6. Right? Intent. So this is the last quality of the keyword that we need to consider as a digital marketer. Intent means for what purpose the keyword needs to be included in the content of your web pages. So intent of a keyword tells what the searcher is intending to do. It is 2020 and people use search engines for every question, even nowadays in 2021. And the intention under the sun. Now, suppose you want to search when is this Ram Navami festival. So you just type in Ram Navami 2021 and you'll find a lot of searches or URLs or your web pages where this information is given. So for any information, what do the online user do? They go to the search engine, typing the keywords. So intent has been generally defined in SEO community as capable of falling into 3 main categories. The intent can be transactional. Transactional means leading to buying, right? Or purchasing of product or service. That is transactional intent. Then comes your navigational. Navigational means searching for information. Searching for content, you can say. So navigational can be that means searching for anything. You can also be searching for directions. So if you are planning to search for direction using from one place to the other, again, you'll have to type in those keywords. So that can be one type of navigational intent. And the third is informational intent. You may be searching for some exhaustive information that you may use to prepare your own content or to prepare some reports or to do some type of a research. So that is purely informational intent. So it will be searching for specific information you can write. Right? So these are 3 different types of intent. As a digital marketer, it becomes important for you to understand a particular keyword, what will be the intention of the online user while he's typing that keyword. Right? Like, you can take the example of yoga. What can be the intent of online user if they type yoga as a keyword for search? They may be searching for yoga instructors, right? They may be searching for the different types of yoga which can be used to reduce weight, right? So it can be your informational intent, it can be your navigational intent. So that is how you need to decide. If yoga is used, so what type of information related to yoga will be searched for? So that is what is known as intent of the keyword. We'll go through
how it is.
Yes.
Ma'am, how it is navigational intent?
How?
Ma'am, yoga searches, you said yoga searches navigational intent.
If you're looking for the yoga instructor,
Direction.
Okay. Right?
Okay.
If you're looking for information of where can I get hold of yoga instructor nearby me, so you may be stationed in your Charbagh area of Lucknow, and then you will start searching yoga instructor nearby me. So that will be more of navigational intent, right? But if you look for
Okay.
yoga exercises for reducing weight, so that will be your informational intent. The online user's
Information.
intent will be, yeah, searching for the information, right? So he, while probably he would land up in some of the videos showing how different yoga exercises can be performed to reduce weight in 10 days or in 15 days or in a month. Correct? So is it clear now, Ankita?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So transactional intent, some examples are given which will make it, these three different types of intent much more clearer to you. Queries that represent strong intention to make a transaction on a website, like buy used Nike online, size 10 red sneakers under $80, under some other price if it is Indian rupees. So that means the intent is clearly transactional. That means online user is searching for a product so that he can order online. The second is informational, queries that are looking for information such as directions, facts, knowledge, etc., without an explicit intention to make a transaction related to this search. Examples you can see, where is the Taj Mahal? How long does it take to boil water? So these are all the intention of typing these collection of keywords is looking out for some information. With these queries, people are searching for information to support their idea of purchasing a certain product they have already decided to buy, read reviews, or compare prices. Now, before purchasing, before ordering a product online on an e-commerce website, generally we also do this. We read the reviews, we compare the prices. So while we are typing keywords to search such type of product reviews, or to search such type of price comparisons that can be found on some of the web pages. So we are doing informational, searching the search engine with the informational intent. While these words aren't likely to give you a good ROI, return on investment from advertising, the reason being the keywords which are used with the intention of searching for information, they generally don't land up in generating a sale. So that is why the return on investment from advertising is not very favorable. So they don't give you good ROI from advertising. Targeting them can help bring general traffic to your site and help your reputation if you can provide a lot of helpful information to the people. The third one, which is left out, is your navigational intent. Queries that show an intent to navigate to a specific website or a specific content. Examples can be Barack Obama Twitter or Bank of America login. These searches already have an idea of where they want to go and just want to find the correct internet address to get there. Such keywords are usually helpful when the brand of the site is well known and popular. So the name of the brand is there at the in the mind of the consumer. So he just types the name of the brand along with the specific search that he's looking for. So that leads to your navigational intent. Now there are some other types of common keywords that digital marketers use to categorize what type of targeting they can do on the digital or online platform. They are branded keywords. These are queries that contain a brand name, such as Adidas tracksuit for sale or Gucci bags. Then you have long tail keywords. If you remember, students, I told you this also as a term, long tail keywords. They are searches that are characterized by having low search volume, but very specific intent. So if you map out search demand on a chart with a search volume and conversion rate. These keywords fall on an orange long tail of the search demand chart as seen below. So that chart is not there, but the thing is, if you have the demand chart like this, so this is somewhere the long tail search keywords fall. The reason being they have very low search volume. And what is this long tail? Like if you are searching from information, what I'm writing on the screen, effect of, I'm writing the short form, advertising on buying behavior. BB is buying behavior of consumer for I'm writing MI, whereas the brand name is Xiaomi, right? MI smartphones. Smartphones in India, right? You can note it down. I'm saying effect of advertising on buying behavior of consumer for MI smartphones in India. So this is what is categorized as long tail keywords, because you are searching for a very specific information and you have typed in a collection of words as a part of your search. Targeting,
Ma'am, can you repeat the sentence again?
the example that I have given you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Effect
Yes,
of
ma'am.
effect of advertising on buying behavior. Effect of advertising on buying behavior of consumers for MI smartphones in India. So generally, such type of information is searched by the researchers who are trying to understand what is the impact of advertising on a smartphone, which is a Chinese brand of smartphone in India in the current context. So this type of keyword is very, very specific, and generally the results of the search engine results page will reflect a lot of web page links of a number of e-journals or online journals, which will be having some sort of a research paper which is linked to this area of the topic. Now, targeting SEO long-tailed keywords can greatly help your websites stand out from competition and provide awesome help to users. The main reason behind using these long-tail keywords is the online users have very less difficulty in finding out the exact information that they are looking for. Right? Another very simple example that I can give to you is in terms of you type the long tail keyword, you use this long tail keyword online, no, not online. You can type sales of Biba brand of formal suit wear. right? So this is also what is known as long tail keywords. Now, what will happen is sales is one thing that the search engine will look out for, and then it will pick up the brand name, Bieber and suitwear, or suit sets. You can write that also. But this is what is known as your long tail keywords. Now, the results that you will get on the search engine results page will be probably a list of all the e-commerce websites which are having Bieber brand of suit sets, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So I think
Yes, ma'am.
this will make it much more clearer because it's a example which is related to mostly what online users keep on searching. This is more of academic example that I gave you, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Then we have geo-targeted keywords. Geo-targeted, geo as the name suggests, it is related to the locational aspect. That means on a specific location, what is the search that you want to do? So these are queries that contain a location, such as dentist, Philadelphia. I mean, if you are there in India, you are also searching for that. Fast food restaurants in and around Rajnagar, right? Or you just type in fast food restaurants, Rajnagar, Ghaziabad. Because Rajnagar may be there in a number of cities. So Rajnagar, Ghaziabad. So that is what is known as geo-targeted keywords. These are great targets for local businesses to go after via SEO and advertising. Then there are certain negative keywords, and these are the keywords you as a digital marketer can add to a Google ad campaign plan to indicate keywords where you don't want your ads to appear. For example, by adding the word free as a negative keyword, you will tell Google Ads not to show your ads to any searchers using the word free in their query. So this happens at the backend. Backend in the sense, the manner in which you insert the ad to some web pages. For inserting that ad, you will have to integrate the link of the advertisement on the coding that is there of the web page. So there is where you will include negative keywords, and with the inverted commas, you will include these words. If the online user uses these words, your ad will not appear. The reason you will need to indicate negative keywords is that Google Ads allows you to specify your targets as broad match, meaning Google might show your ad on keywords results page that is not exactly the keyword you indicated, but a closely related one. Negative keywords then let you specify what you absolutely do not want your ads showing up for, right? So as a digital marketer, there may be certain words which you don't think would be good if your ad or your brand of product gets associated with. So those words you can include as a part of your negative keyword. Now, how to use keyword? Commonly, the way you use keywords is by planning a campaign that targets them. That is where SEO, content marketing, and PPC advertising come into play. So as a digital marketer, once you have chosen your keyword, you need to understand where you will be using. Where will you be using the keywords in content to optimize your search engine results? Or you will be using the keywords in the content and then promote the content on various platforms. It can be social media platforms, which also includes blogging or your discussion forums. So are you promoting that content on these platforms so that more and more traffic is being directed towards those platforms, digital platforms? Or you're using these keywords as a part of your pay-per-click advertisement or advertising that you'll be doing not only on the search engine's result page, but also on the web pages of some other websites, which will be very closely related to your brand of product. The simplest way to use keyword is to make sure that the website content, where will these keywords be integrated? Page titles, the text, which is the main part of the content, the categories section, and the subsections of the web pages or any other. It can also include content on social media platforms. Are all worded in the same way that the audience writes their search engine queries. So using the keywords along with the combination of words in exactly the same way that you might have found that the online users, they type in their search queries. You can write optimized blog post. Again, optimized means using your keywords. That provide answers to the keywords that ask questions or provide general information on your website that educates people about the topics around those target keywords in an effort to improve a site's SEO, search engine optimization. Or you build the landing pages of your website for your advertising campaign that appeal to each specific keyword you want to target with your campaign. Landing pages means when the online user clicks on your online advertisement, which may be there anyway, it may be there on the results page of Google search engine or any other search engine, or your online advertisement can be there on different web pages as display advertising. So when they click on that advertisement, so for more information, that link directs, the link of that advertisement directs the online user to your own website. So the web page where the user lands on your own website, that is known as your landing page. Is it clear so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Now we'll go through these two concepts of domain name and web hosting, right? So what is domain name? It is the address of your website. You know what is IP address? It's a collection of words. You can see it's given over here. This is how IP address is indicated. This is the collection of number that indicates where is your website hosted. Right? Now, instead of remembering such a complex combination of words, what happens is a domain name can be chosen. Like, for example, for your college, it is www.akgim.edu.in. So this is what is known as your domain name, right? So domain name is the address of your website that people type in the browser's URL bar to visit your website. Internet is basically a giant network of computers connected to each other through cables. To easily identify them, each computer is assigned a series of numbers, which is called as IP address. This IP address is a combination of numbers separated with dots, which is indicated below. A domain name can have words which makes it easy to remember the website addresses. Web hosting. Now, your website has to be, or the web pages of your website has to be stored somewhere. So that is what is known as your hosting. That means the location at which your website, which is a collection of web pages, they are hosted. Web hosting is the place where all the files of your website live. It is like a home of your website where it actually lives. A good way to think about this is if the domain name was the address of your house, then web hosting is the actual house that address points to. All websites on the internet need web hosting. Now, these domain name and web hosting are two different services, but then they are linked with each other, right? So that is why it's given. They work together to make the websites possible. Domain name system is like a massive address book that is constantly updated. Behind each domain name, there is an address of web hosting service, storing the website's files. Without domain names, it will not be possible for the people to find your website, and without web hosting, you cannot build a website. Now we'll start with this concept of blogs. Have you visited a blogging website, or have you ever experienced blogging? Yes, students? किसी ने किया experience? Blog create किया है कहीं पर किसी ने?
No,
Yes?
ma'am.
नहीं ना अभी तक? चलो ठीक है. After this class, I don't think so I'll be able to finish in the entire blogging, but whatever part I am able to finish, please log into bloggers.com, which is a free blogging. I mean, you can create blogs free of cost on that bloggers.com and try to create your own blog post, right? Let us first go through what this blog is, what is its purpose, what are some of the advantages and disadvantages of blogging, and how you can create blog, right? What are the important things you need to understand, you need to remember as a digital marketer, especially in the context of headlines, and how you can create an effective post for blogging website. So a blog is an online journal or informational website displaying information in the reverse chronological order. Now, reverse chronological order, the easiest way I can explain to you is when you open up your Facebook account, right? The homepage of your Facebook account, you'll see there are a number of news feeds which are being reflected, depending on your area of interest, as well as depending on some of the updates which your known contacts might have posted on the Facebook platform. Now, reverse chronological means the latest news feed appears as first one. Then the second one will be the news feed, which may be in time, probably it may have been posted earlier in the same day. So the latest one can be probably 1:30 p.m. and today is your 10 April, right? The second one can be 1 p.m., same date. The third news feed that will be appearing maybe 10 a.m., same date, right? Third one can be your 7 a.m., same date. So this is what is known as your reverse chronological order. Probably the fifth one can be 10 p.m., 9th April. Correct? So is it clear, students?
Yes, ma'am.
So similarly, your in blogging platform, the information also, the posts that appear on the blogs, they also follow this reverse chronological order in terms of the time and date when it either the posting was done or a reply to that post was given, with the latest posts appearing first. It is a platform where a writer or even a group of writers share their views on an individual subject. So generally when a blog is created, it is related to a specific topic, right? And after you create a blog, you invite a group of people who have the same interest. with relation to that topic that you might have chosen, so that they can share their views. The purpose of a blog is to aid marketing to a point where the content you deliver is targeted specifically to the wants and needs of your audience. Provide answers to their most commonly asked questions, or provide advice to areas within your niche that your business is an expert on. This are specifically the activities of your digital marketer. Catering to customer relations, right? So as a digital marketer, you can create a blog and post information which is related to your brand of product. Then send across or share that post with your existing set of customers, so then they can react to that particular post by giving their feedback or by posting some of the queries with reference to the information that you might have posted to a specific topic related to your brand. Blogger is an individual who is the blog owner, the person who keeps blog alive by posting new posts, sharing latest news, information, case studies, opinions, etc. Blog post is an article or writing that is inside the blog, and blogging is the action of maintaining and writing the blog. Some of the reasons for blogging: it helps the marketer, digital marketer, add on a lot of content which is related to their which may be related to their company, which may be related to the industry to which they belong, or which may be related to the brand that they have in the market. So the more the content is available on the internet platform, the more easier it becomes for the search engine to search for the latest updates with reference to the keywords that you might have chosen. Again, when you are drafting or preparing the post or the article to be posted as a part of blog, you need to integrate the keywords that you have chosen, which will help you optimize your search engine result. So search engines love new content, and as a result, blogging is a great search engine optimization tool. Blogging provides an easy way to keep your customers and client up to date on what's going on. Let them know new deals and provide tips. That's what I told you. It's a platform that you can use for your customer relations. The more a customer comes to your blog, the more likely they are to spend money. A blog allows you to build trust and rapport with your prospects. Prospects are those individuals who are not yet your customers. So they are your probable customers. Not only can you show off what you know, building your expertise and credibility, but also because people can post comments and interact with you, they can get to know you and hopefully will trust you enough to buy from you. Blogs can make money along with your product or service. Blogs can generate income from other options, such as advertising or and affiliate products. Blogging is flexible and portable, making it a great option for people who be a lifestyle entrepreneur. Some of the downside, that is disadvantages of blogging: it requires a great deal of time, because preparing the content or the article to be posted as a part of blogging website, it requires considerable amount of effort and time from the marketer's perspective. So that is why sometimes it becomes not very easy for the digital marketer to maintain the blogging website. For blogs to be effective at SEO and engaging readers, it needs to be updated regularly. The basic funda, which I told you, if you remember, students, even for your organic searches, it's important that your web pages are hit upon very much regularly. So hitting only happens if you keep on updating the content which are there on the different web pages available on internet platform. So same is the case with the blogging website. So it requires a lot of engagement from the marketing department if the blog is created for the brand. The internet is littered with abandoned blogs that haven't been updated in months or even years. The success of blogging comes from having people return, and they only return when there's new stuff to read. That means generating content at least several times a week, which takes considerable amount of time on the digital marketer's part. So it requires a great deal of time. Second disadvantage is you need ideas to write about. So to keep the content coming, you have to have ideas to write about. The good news is that you don't have to write it all. You can have guest writers or hire freelancers for creating the article for your blog post. Another option is to curate content. That means to create content by combining information from various sources from others, or to do an alternative post, such as using video. There is another concept, which is your PLR content. That means buying the private label right for some of the content which has been written by some other writers. You can either use it as it is, or you can modify that same content that you might have purchased from the private label right, and make the changes and post it as a part of your own blog post. So managing content, managing time, that means it requires a lot of time. It requires a lot of updations, new ideas that you need to create so that your blogging forum is updated quite regularly. Then you need to offer more than blog articles. So at one time, posting an article was enough to generate traffic and income. Today, a successful blog needs email marketing. That's what I told you. Once you post on your blogging website, you need to inform to the interested parties so that they can visit your blogging platform and give in their inputs. So email marketing is required for that. Additional perks such as content upgrades and an engaged social network such as Facebook group. So you can also use your Facebook brand specific page to generate or to spread out the information about the new blog post that you might have posted. And finally, the payoff isn't immediate. That means though it is time consuming, but your marketing efforts need not be visible immediately. So that is why it's given payoff isn't immediate. It takes time to build not only the readership, but also the momentum in terms of you updating and upgrading the blog post and then marketing that content, which is a part of your blogging website. Okay, so this will continue in the next class, how to write blog post in 5 easy steps.